Warriors are playing the Celtics right now, and I just keep thinking about how lucky the Warriors got that they won their championship that year. Because they have drafted fucking terribly, other than Pajemski, who's been good this year. But so going into that draft, the Cavs had odds at the fourth pick, and it was mocked by a lot of people that Jonathan Kuminga was going to be the guy. And the Cavs jumped up to 3. They get Mobley. It's perfect. It's a fucking amazing fit. It's awesome. And so Kuminga just falls and falls and falls. Surprisingly, like Scotty Barnes jumps up super high, Giddey jumps up, and Kuminga falls to the Warriors. And Kuminga going into the draft was a raw prospect, like super raw. He just had athletic tools and he could finish because he could jump high. That was his scouting report is he was a super raw player. So when the Warriors take him, it's weird, and I think a lot of people thought it was weird because it's like, why are you taking Kuminga here when you're trying to win now and you have old Steph, old Clay, like Clay just coming back from injury, and then old Draymond? Like, wouldn't you want to take a more win now player? And so then they take Moody, also in the lottery, and Moody was like, he was supposed to be a guy, I think, at least what I thought of Moody. I was like, if he goes to the right system, he can be an impact player right off because he can just catch and shoot and play defense. And god damn, they got lucky that they were able to win. Not lucky because they were a good team, but thank God they won the championship that year, because in a perfect world, they take like Jalen Williams. Actually, no, wrong year. They take a player like Jalen Williams, right? Someone who can be an impact player right off the bat, help them win the championship. But neither of those rookies, they tried to toe the line too much of future and current, right? That's why they still had Wiseman on the team, Kuminga, Moody, and then Poole. And Poole turned out great, and then they shipped Poole off because Draymond punched him. Whole nother story. I think it's a dumb trade. But they try to toe this line of Kuminga is being young, but he's raw, so we have to develop him. But we can't play him too much because we still have Draymond and Looney in the front court. And we need to contend, like we're trying to win. And you have Otto Porter, who's playing great, and Gary Payton. So Kuminga is fighting for minutes, and he needs to be able to develop by getting playing time. And he can't do that. And same thing with Moody. Kuminga and Moody are barely playing at all, and Wiseman is barely in the rotation. And if he is, he's fighting and scratching, and Looney's just better than him because he knows his role and doesn't try to do as much, right? And then Poole was great. Like, Poole's on a different level because he was an impact player. But they win that ring, and then the next year, they get rid of all these older vets. They're like, okay, we're good. Kuminga can develop. Moody will develop. Poole, you were amazing. Take another step. And then that just doesn't happen. Kuminga is not that good still. He's still raw. And it's 3 years in. He can't be raw anymore. I was just fucking watching this game. Chris Paul was running pick and rolls with Moses Moody against the Celtics. They tried to toe that line too much. And getting Chris Paul was dumb. I'm sorry. But looking at the way this roster was constructed, getting a 36-year-old who was a traffic cone on defense when all of your top 3 players are all old and not elite defenders is a bad move, I think. I think it's an idiotic trade. Like, obviously hindsight is 2020, but if you wanted, like, I would have just kept Poole, man. I don't know. And then Draymond is being a fucking idiot this year. He's just punching people, and he's also just old. And it's tough to have a team when your entire, like, your core is old and not performing. Clay's been better in these last 3 games, but he's still old and he still isn't that good. And then Curry has been good, but he's still, like, he's been super on and off in the last couple of weeks. And then Draymond, you just can't count on at all because he's never there. And then Chris Paul is just not an offense. He's good at running an offense, but he himself doesn't do much anymore, other than he's a good playmaker. and your young guys have not developed, and now you're kind of in this hell of like last year could have been the last year. Okay, let's run it back. Let's get Chris Paul. Let's trade away one of our players that we just paid because we thought he had a bright future. But we're still keeping Kuminga and Moody because we still have hope in them. Okay, this might be the last year. Completely straight up. We talk about this all the time. How like it was a conversation since they won the ring. How many years left does the Warriors core have? And this might be it. And I think the problem is, I don't know when Mike Dunleavy, the new Warriors GM, is going to be ready. Because it's a tough decision. They brought you 4 championships. It's a tough decision. But the Bulls in the 90s, they fucking did it great. It didn't matter that last result. The last dance, we saw it in the documentary. It was, okay, win or loss, this is it. This is the last year of the core. Let's fucking put her all into it, right? And they had a great roster. But like, it's at the point where we're old and the core is old that maybe it's time just to move on. Not from Steph, because Steph is a Warrior lifer. But I don't think it's smart to pay Klay Thompson $25 million next offseason. I don't think it's smart to keep Draymond on the team. Or maybe it is, but you got to retool. I think the system, like Wiggins, Chris Paul, Steph, Klay, Dre, Draymond, and CP, I think is done. I think this was the year. You tried it out, and I think you have to retool in a major way. And I think it's hard to imagine the Warriors without Klay, but I think it's time, man. And maybe you move on from the young guys for picks, or maybe you have to give them more of a chance. I think Podziemski right now is thriving because Steve Kerr trusts him, and he's getting the opportunity to prove himself and play in these big-time games as a starter and play big-time minutes against good players, and they trust him. And he's making good plays. He's been a very good rookie. Like we saw it in the game against the Trailblazers where Steph sucked, Klay stepped up, but Podziemski took the game-winning charge. He took it. And it's like, he's gotta be there. Like they gotta just make a choice. They can't keep towing the line. That's what I'm thinking. It's tough. They're in a tough spot, but in the West this year, they don't have a chance of winning at all.